firstly, let's start with
Yeah.
pronunciation of the surname because I've been calling you Luke Severeid for ages. Is that wrong or right?
It's wrong the whole time. I should more often pronounce my last name because people that read it always do Severeid. It's Severeid.
Severai, like samurai.
Yeah, Yeah, well, Severeid, like I apostrophe
Severai.
D.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Severai. Luke Severai.
yeah.
I like that.
It's like the word sever with "ide" at the end.
Well, it did, you could have very easily, for a metal influenced comedian, you could have had like a stage name like Luke Severed or something.
I could have, but I don't think people start open mics with a character in mind and actually get good at open mics. I don't think you can. Anytime, I won't say that, but majority of the time, if someone goes on stage with a name that isn't just their name, they end up just kind of,
Dying. Yeah.
not dying, but just being like, "All right, you're topped out when you showed up." Okay,
Yeah, yeah, fair, fair. With
yeah.
with respect to your ADD, how many reminders did you have to put for this in to remember this interview?
Well, I just had my phone and my laptop near me, so when I got emails, that helped.
Yeah.
Also, you're giving me grief about ADD. You were saying 7 p.m. my time, and it's 6 p.m. now, so we're like starting an hour earlier. So I'm like, hey man, you might have a little chaos in you too.
Wait, wait, wait. No, was this supposed to be in an hour?
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
I apologize, man. We have daylight savings here, which has been
Oh yeah,
knocking
yeah.
half the country is an hour in front of the other. Ugh. Pardon me, sorry.
That's Oh no, it's all good. It's me going like, yeah, man, you're chaos too. I'm attracting that chaos. I get.
Well, funnily enough, they did think I had ADD. So around the late 90s, I was. So I can remember South Park making fun of it. With tweak and all the attention deficit disorder and all that. So in 1998, I got diagnosed with ADD and I got put on dexamphetamine, which I think might be similar to what you're on. And I was on that
Okay.
for over a decade until I was in my mid 20s. Didn't it did not work for me. I was just a ruthless drug addict, but it sounds like they worked for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wish I had done it when school was happening because I probably would have been better at school and not just kind of veered into going, I guess I do manual labor and am smarter than that sounds rude or than it needs
No,
to be. But when you're just like, I'm smarter than just stacking boxes, but I have no I lack the dopamine to sit and stare at books I don't care about for an extended period of time to then regurgitate the information, even though I know it will ultimately get me in debt, but get me a little piece of paper that lets me go do another job that is soul crushing, as opposed to backbreaking. So I did backbreaking manual labor until eventually I was able to turn stand-up comedy, which is just emotional labor, into the means with which I gather currency to pay off bills in this capitalistic system.
but other than that, you're fine. It's interesting because I remember. It's funny that you mentioned manual labor because I remember seeing footage of you in stand up, and you're a fairly solid dude. I'm the same. I'm a big dude. I'm 6'7" and with a lot of muscles. So people tend to go. I tend to get. You and I imagine get similar looks when we walk into a room. Yeah.
Maybe I think, and I hate to disappoint everyone, but I like to not be disappointing in person. I'm not nearly as tall as everyone thinks I'm tall.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, you're looking at a phone and just being like, oh, he's just big. And I was like, I'm literally 4 inches tall right now on this thing. Everyone thinks I'm much taller than I am, which is a weird new thing because I've always just been the height I've been, since I stopped growing. And
Yeah.
now it's like I go into places going, oh, I'm going to disappoint someone.
Well, it's you can blame. You can probably blame. I forget his name, Brian Posigan, because he was
Posehn.
Posehn. American comedian, and he apparently is almost my height. So he's
Oh
a
yeah, he's a
massive
real
dude.
tall dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think
maybe
it's, I, well,
maybe that was
I
him.
think it's, nah. Well, I mean, I think he's just a tall dude. I think I have a big beard and I'm yelling loud and I'm talking about metal music. So people just elevate you to think you're like, and if you're loud, everyone's like, masculine, masculine, must be tall, has to be. And you're like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah. Then you meet them and you're Joe Rogan size. Yeah. It's like,
I'm not that short. I'm not that short. I don't know what it is in meters. I should probably figure that out for shorthand when I'm in
what are you in
Australia to
feet?
some extent. I'm like 5'10".
I thought, really? I would have thought you're at least over
Yeah.
6 foot tall. There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
Ah, well, my
the
mom is like this tall, and she's half of what made me. So I'm like, I could have been way, way shorter.
But obviously you're known for, doing a lot of metal stuff, which is good for me because I specialize in interviewing metal people. And I was watching your This Is Not a Special last night, the part where you were
Yeah.
talking about THC, and I thought you might like this in the spirit of metal and Zoom. This is what Glenn Benton from Deicide looked like when my Zoom call opened. That is Glenn Benton adding some
Hey,
smoke
man.
effects to his bathroom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Professional.
I love that. He's an
Yeah,
interesting
that's
character.
great.
He's a hell of an interview. Um, Mate, what are some of the albums that have changed your life? Like what
Ooh.
made you a metalhead?
Oh, okay. That's a better question than just the generic, what's your favorite band, which is what everyone asks.
Ugh.
And yeah, because also like I should have like an onstage joke based off of just that question. I am derailing, but I'll get back to it. Don't worry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Uh
I could just be like, oh, Mastodon, because you're wearing a Mastodon shirt. I like that shirt, by the way. I've seen that in the old
I
band shirt thing.
Yeah. Also, I have like 5 shirts in my closet right now because a bunch of my stuff's in storage. So I'm like, we're just wearing the exact same thing over and over again. And everyone's like, it's your favorite band. I'm like, the shirt fits and it's a recent purchase. And so yeah, sure. I do love Macedon. All right, we
Yeah.
derailed from the derailment.
Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. It's
Uh
all good.
but because I feel like the question of like what's your favorite band
Yeah.
is like people usually ask that, and if someone has a lot of times people answer and it's like the band they found when they were 14, and you're like, you haven't evolved since, and they're like,
Yeah.
nope, and you're like, all right, bud. um but I think albums that kind of shaped my brain, I think Slipknot self-titled.
Mhm.
When I got into metal music, it was about ninth grade, and that's the time around the time that came out. That's when I first like dipped my toe into just screaming and double kick. So that, and then LD50, the bass on LD50 was just so good. Like that's why I started playing bass, is because
Mm.
what Ryan did on that album. And then moved on from that after a couple years. Darkest Hour, Hidden Hands of a Sadist Nation, like that was in my rotation for a long period of time, and also very fun to like go back to it like recently and just being like, oh yeah, of course I've already always kind of had this political leaning when I listen to those things and go like, oh yeah, this is like left leaning ideology, but like screaming and angry and stuff like that. And then Colors by Between the Buried and Me, like that was just in heavy rotation. Um, Kind of anything from Every Time I Die has been in the heavy
Mm.
rotation at some point in time for me. And then Let Live, Fake History, that was in heavy rotation for a while. Like early, I've been doing stand up comedy for like almost 13 years, but a couple years in, and the truck that I had, like it still just had like a CD player because that's how old I am, or at least how old the truck is. But that album would be in the CD player, and it would be like it would start on the rotation, like a lot of times when I'm driving to and from open mics. Um, so that it's very fun to be like, oh, that was a soundtrack to certain periods in your life, which is also why I think people latch onto music so heavily, is
Mm.
that it's the soundtrack of like a summer that might be like one of the best summers of your life because you have a full head of hair and your dick works properly that summer. So you're like, this is good. Not that that's autobiographical.
No,
Uh,
no, not at all.
no, not at all.
Out of curiosity, how old are you? Because I'm turning 40 this year, and just some of the albums that you dropped, I think you and I are around the same age.
I'm 38.
There you go. I'm
Yeah,
literally like a year older than you. Yeah, because you
yeah.
dropped this self-titled and LD50, and I was like, yeah, man, that was a good couple of years. We didn't know how good we had it.
Yeah, it was also like, the beginning of the ascent of that wave of metal music. And then those bands evolve and do other stuff, but when they first showed up, I think that freshness of just this is a new take on the formula.
Well, I didn't. You couldn't get much more new than like the video for Dig. I mean, people gave Mudvayne a bit of stick purely because they came out that album came out a smidge after self-titled by Slipknot, so people just
Mhm.
assumed that they were also in the in the image game, in the mask, that they were a ripoff. But that video for Dig was just like, what are these colors? Who is this dude? Who is this bass player with a torso like Bruce Lee? He still has that torso, by the way. I saw them just last year.
He probably eats like once a week. I don't understand being that skinny. But also, I mean, they were tied to Slipknot. I think I remember the story being that like Six, he like brought him on board or whatever, and they're on Roadrunner Records. So it is like in the music industry, my understanding of it, it's a lot of like musicians bringing each other up. So it is, someone's like, they're just a Slipknot ripoff. They're not a ripoff, but they're definitely in the same vein. It is the theatric new metal wave.
Yeah. Fred Durst was Korn's tattooist. So
oh yeah.
That's
dude, it's all who you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so we've gone for music, but yeah, let's talk stand-up. So as we were talking before, that we're in a period in time where a lot of people's idols, people kind of have to apologize for their idols or for the people who have influenced them, because, the world has changed and we're regarding the past a lot more critically than we maybe have before. And I'm wondering, who were some of your stand-ups that shaped your approach?
Well, I mean, obviously based off of my haircut, Louis C.K. No, he definitely was a lot of people's favorite comedian, and then kind of had his fall from grace. And I don't know, I usually don't mention him, but the fact that you're framing it in this way kind of makes it necessary. But also, like, I don't know, man. I'm kind of a vehement atheist, and I think that applies to celebrity culture as well, where it's just like I don't like elevating someone, because then they become not them to some extent, and then you have to be like, it's my hero, but I gotta apologize for my hero for X, Y, and Z. You're like, no, they're just some dude or dame, and they do things, and then you can like them for something they made in this period of time, but then they can turn out to be a serial rapist. And go, oh, okay, maybe when he was moral grandstanding, he was, doing it to deflect from the dark secrets. So I don't know. I think influence wise, I definitely think Louis C.K. was in the mix. I got many comparisons when I was coming up, because you also stand-up comedy is very weird in that, not weird, but like it's different with music, because if you're playing music and someone goes, hey, you sound like Pantera, or hey, you sound like insert this band name, it's a compliment. But with stand-up comedy, if someone's like, hey, you sound like this person, you're just like, oh, I'm a hack. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be influenced, but also sound like yourself as you're trying to figure out how to actually do the job. Like, you need to emulate your betters, but also not. It's an odd thing to navigate. So like years ago, like I really enjoyed Louis C.K. and I would watch all his stuff, and then I just kind of stopped. Like, even before his scandals came to light, I kind of stopped watching his stuff, because I'm like, I don't even want to take it in, because if someone's saying I'm sounding like him, I gotta stop just to do something different. So yeah, him. Who else? I don't know. Who do you like? Let me make you have to defend your preferences.
I am a huge comedy fan. Lately, look, obviously the classics. I'm a huge fan of Hicks. Huge fan of British people, Jimmy Carr, Dylan Moran. So a lot of great British stuff, a lot of great American stuff. Ari Shaffir, his new special's hilarious. Dave Attell, Skanks for the Memory. Who got me? Tom Segura in his book got me onto Skanks for the Memories, that audiobook, and I listened to it and absolutely cried laughing. Like, it was, the jokes per minute was just relentless. So
Attell's he's a joke machine.
Oh man, and his recent one too. Like, I don't think I've seen a set with that dense with jokes. Like, it would have taken him forever to write it, and he blasts through it so quickly that I don't know if you remember at the end of it, he's literally playing a recorder or something to some seals to make up the hour.
Yeah, it's also like because it's just non sequitur to non sequitur to non sequitur. It's he's kind of just become like a one, not become maybe, and I could be speaking out of turn here, but like he's kind of been a one liner the whole
Mm.
time, and it's all like it's not tied to reality. It's just here's this nonsense to this nonsense, this to this to this to this, and then here's a distraction. It's very ADHD.
Yeah, yeah. Which
Yeah,
fits in with you perfectly. Yeah.
yeah.
So, have any surprising fans popped up yet? Have you
Well,
had like any like metal like bands maybe that you're a big fan of, like all of a sudden you see that they've shared one of your reels or something? I don't know.
that I mean, I delete the app often so that I don't stare at it because I'm aware that the app is designed to just eat my time as well as the
Hmm.
as a person who puts up things there often. Um, but it's flattering to just have musicians and bands that I've been listening to for years just kind of like follow me on social media and like a thing on occasion or whatever, and I'm just kind of like, all right, I'm doing something right. So it's cool to be like, oh, you like my art? Well, you were the soundtrack I used when I made the art. So that's fun.
I you have, I think, a much more mature outlook on this than me. For some reason, I'm 39 years old. I've been interviewing bands for years and years, and I still, for some reason, am there's a part of me in my head that is still eternally 16 and putting these musicians who are very flawed people on these
Yeah.
ridiculous pedestals and hero worshipping them, and I don't know why.
It's, I mean, and this is a component of just who I am. And it doesn't really come across on the stand up because it's just I'm mostly just presenting a finished product. Finished. I'm
Yeah,
presenting an iteration of a stage performance that worked in the room in the moment. And I captured it. And now I go, hey, online audience, here you go. But I like to kind of like psychologically break things down into the pieces. And I think when it comes to music, it is because it is the soundtrack to something and it's tied to so many memories and you're not even fully conscious of it, that's why we elevate them. And it's part of the culture too. You go to a live show, they are on an elevated stage, everything is happening, we are following their commands.
mm,
Like,
yeah,
let's do it. Like, I want to see a circle pit and then we all oblige. Let's make a wall of death and then we all oblige. Like,
yeah,
it's in the same way that people elevate political leaders or pastors or whatever. It's just like we want, that's music daddy. So it's
yeah.
hard to like break that perception. So I don't, also maybe I just don't get excited about anything, and that's an issue. Like you still have like hope and joy, and I'm just kind of
Yeah,
like, I don't know, man.
dead
I'm
inside.
dead
Yeah,
inside. Yeah, it's just
yeah.
like to sound like dead inside sounds like something someone who cares would say that wants to. It's like I'm not dead inside, but I'm like I'm very neutral when it
You're
comes to a lot of
incredibly
things
apathetic,
that I
and I
wish I
love
was happy about.
it.
Apathetic is still too strong of a word.
Yeah,
I
fair.
care to the point of numbness.
I'm wondering, as you mentioned, pits and whatnot, it had me thinking, would it be possible to do a comedy wall of death? So get the pit open, and then just as you build up the joke, and just as you hit the punchline, everyone laughs. And
I mean, in theory, in practice, I would not be allowed to play that venue ever again, which
imagine
is,
that everyone starts kicking up their seats. They end up on the stage. Oh, you'd be in so much trouble. I love it.
yeah, I would make any money. I would have to pay for everything. And also, the majority of the audience would not be on board with that.
Yeah.
They're like, I paid to have a sit down fun time, and then a strange man decided to drop kick me in the neck.
Well, speaking of including the crowd, what are your thoughts on crowd work? Do you find it's like it is a noble part of stand up, or is it just something that kind of hacks lean on because they haven't come up with enough material for their slot?
I would not. I think some people can do very, very good crowd work. I think the internet has changed the way crowd work is utilized. A lot of times when a younger comic is up and coming and they are given, say, a feature spot, 20 to 30-minute spot or a headlining spot, 45 to an hour, and they're not comfortable with that amount of time, they will crowd work to fill the gap.
Mm,
That doesn't make them hacks, but it is a sign of needing to grow. And I think what
mm,
the internet has done with the ever demanding almighty algorithm, to stay in the rotation, you to constantly feed this never satiated beast, and it is very hard to create jokes that are fine tuned and punchy enough to then share with good reaction to then go, all right, that's good. Like that can take weeks, months, forever
mm,
to make that happen. But a crowd work moment, because the stakes with crowd work is lowered because the audience is like, oh, it's happening in real time. The person watching it on their phone goes, this is happening in real time. This person is reacting in the moment. This can't be organized beforehand. Like it makes it seem cooler than it actually is. So that's
mm.
why there's just so much crowd work everywhere. I don't like doing crowd work so much because I activate audience members just with my energy, especially with who's been coming out to shows lately, because you attract your tribe. And I have a bunch of scatterbrained pothead drunks that are like, oh, I want to talk to the guy. He said one thing to me. I'm going to chime in now. And you're like, nah, dog, it was a one and done. Like,
Yeah.
so I kind of veer away from that, but I don't know. I do enjoy when it I don't want to seek it out, but I enjoy when there's a moment where I engage and then that sets me off on another thing, because I think that's a really fun way to like get into material or explore a new idea if you have like something in the moment happen with an audience.
Did medicating your ADD help with remembering your routine?
Yeah, as long as I didn't smoke too much pot to
Yeah.
cancel it out. That's the boat I'm in right now, where I'm like, I need to stop getting high like a while before I do a set, because even if I have my ADHD meds, I've just like I have too many jokes to fit in the amount of time I'm going to do on stage, and I that's a problem. I'm not going to say that. I wouldn't say that's a problem I've had for forever, but I've always written out more to do in the amount of time that I'm allotted. And now that I'm doing like, when I'm doing like a full hour, I'm still just like, we planned out an hour and 20 and we're trying to fit it into 60. Like this is stupid. Um, that doesn't really answer. Yes, the ADHD, the meth helps me stick to the script, more better, gooder, but I'm still like deviate.
And there's the quote, Luke Severeid, the meth helps me.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey,
I didn't say
whatever
what it
gets them to
helps
click
me.
on the YouTube thumbnail, man. We got to do what we got to do.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
well, speaking of sourcing material that could get us some clicks, which metal figures do you think should start an OnlyFans? I think Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse could be like Only Necks or something. Like, I don't know.
Oh, Jesus. Well, also, like, why would you do an only next when we can kind of see all of it right now?
True. Got to get something to pay. Well, I don't know. Feet pics or something. Randy Blythe selling feet pics. Like, I don't know.
Oh,
Who would
dude,
be the most
I,
outrageously horrific person to get on?
I
That
would love
cat.
to see Ozzy Osbourne's feet. He doesn't need the money.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, those.
He'd
I'm
get
sure he's
those
got some
dogs
nice
out.
soft toe. Yeah, he's probably got some nice feet too, man. He's had a nice, like, I think the gnarliest folk would be the ones just grinding it out still, that haven't
Yeah.
been like that haven't been at the top of their game yet. Like that's who I want to see. Like I don't know,
Some,
like I don't want to see. I'm trying to think of who would be a good musician, but all the ones I'm gonna like say are already doing it and like crushing it. So like they're not even gonna be hungry for their OnlyFans. Like they're
yeah,
just
yeah.
gonna be there and like not be like, I want someone to be able to tip you enough money that you actually like you found the line of what you were willing to do, and then someone that you needed that extra like $50. You're like, I guess we're doing DP, solo DP, and I gotta get paid. So
Mate, it's a grind. What can I do?
I don't know. You probably should use more. If it is a grind, you are probably not using sufficient lubricant. I know that much. Um,
It's like, do you smoke after sex? I don't know, baby. I never looked.
I hadn't heard that one. That was good.
Oh man, I stole that from Austin Powers. That joke's. I got to be
Oh, there we
careful
go.
with that joke. It's an antique.
Yeah, I was like, no, don't worry. I didn't think you made that up. I was just going, oh, I haven't heard that street joke yet. And you're like, Austin Powers. I'm like, that makes sense. We are of the similar age.
Look, this has been wonderful, mate. Like, thank you very much for your time. I've been,
Yeah.
I'm guessing the Facebook algorithm just said, hey, you like metal music, you like comedy, you'll like this dude, and has just been just sending me like you have just been popping up all over the place until I immediately relented and I was like, all right, fine, I'll follow it. So will you be able to come to Australia one day?
Yes, actually, one day soon. Oh my God, good prompt.
Ooh.
I'm going to be there, and I'm trying to change the way I say this, but the 1st of March, the 5th of March, and the 7th of March, I'm going to be in Brisbane on the 1st of March at I believe it's Sit Down Comedy Club,
Yep.
and then the 5th, I'm going to be in Melbourne, and I know that's not how we say it, but every time I try to say it the other way, it feels like I'm doing a bad Australian accent. Can you give me advice on how to say Melbourne without
Um,
mimicking you rudely?
literally, pretend it's a hyphenated word. First word Mel, MEL. Second word BUN. Melbourne.
BUN,
Melbourne.
Melbourne,
Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Boom. There
Oh,
you go.
that's easy.
You've just
Yeah,
crushed
yeah,
it.
because
You have literally done.
yeah,
I have taught the first American how to properly say Melbourne, and you also said Brisbane instead of Brisbane, which Ryan Long
oh,
is shocking for. Uh, funny.
Canadians, you can't trust them.
I
That's
know,
why we
right?
got to annex them to teach them how to do things right. I don't coast. Okay, anyways, and then where am I?
He had me crying last year. I love that.
Let me. Sorry, I don't have the venues off the top of my head, but on the 5th, I'm in Melbourne, and then on the 7th, I'm in Sydney, and Melbourne is. Oh, what is the venue? I don't know. I should know my schedule,
It
but
is
in
all.
my
I'll
link
put it
tree, I
in
have
the
all
just
beautiful,
point
beautiful.
down to the bottom of the screen and say, check the link. There we go.
Check
Yeah.
the link down here.
Yes.
Um, but I'm stoked. This is my first time in Australia. I mean, first time in that hemisphere, honestly, and I'm excited. I've been having plenty of people in the comments asking me when I'm coming out, and finally was able to line this up with Destroy All Lines, and it's also tied to Knotfest, which is insane.
Oh, of
That I'm
course.
just
You're
going to
coming down for
be,
the Knotfest sideshow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, well, and
yeah. I
Knotfest
don't,
itself.
yeah. Like I'm kind of going to be driven around. I don't know all the things that are happening, but I'm like kind of doing things tied to that organization as well. So it's like I don't know, man. It's all hypothetical, and then when it's happening, I'll be like, oh, okay, maybe this is way cooler than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Like I
Like,
don't know.
plus, you probably get to watch, Slipknot do their self-titled set side stage. It'll be amazing.
Yeah, can't complain. Maybe not side stage. There's about 700 people doing everything, but
This is true.
somewhere in the mix.
Somewhere you'll be there. Come out in the crowd with me. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and
Easy, man.
sweaty.
All right, mate. I will see you in Brisbane. Have a
Sounds good,
wonderful day.
man.
Easy.
You too.